Beyond is the first one I've pulled out of the hat. Let's quickly explain. You are the drummer for Scribe.
I am indeed, yes.
And one of the cool things about Scribe is in your own description of what your music is, you use the word Dickensian. And that's freaking awesome because, like, I've never seen that ever, and that's always good.
That's a Kirk. That is pure Kirk in his review of us.
Dickensian metal.
When he reviewed the album, because when we had the album ready, we gave it to Kirk and Andy to review, and I stepped aside. I said, look, I'm not going to be involved in it. You go off and film it separately. And then you just send it to me, and I'll just upload it onto the channel, and I'll watch it like everyone else. And
reaction of your own reaction.
It was kind of almost like that. And what was really interesting for me was they weren't glowing reviews. They were songs on that album they didn't like. But in true senses, there were songs that the song that Kirk wasn't a big fan of, which is actually Beyond. He's not a massive fan of Beyond, but Andy absolutely loves Beyond. And it was really interesting to hear their different viewpoints on the vocal delivery and what they liked, what they didn't like about it. And I really appreciate their honest feedback. But one of the things he said was Dickensian metal because of the storytelling element.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's a great Dickensian metal. Victoriana metal is another one that's been thrown out there. So I'm like, we're going to use that because it makes complete sense of what we're actually trying to achieve with the band. So that's our kind of approach to it at the moment.
The good thing about that is now you can start the ball rolling on that, and you've got a theme, and a theme's always good. Themes work. Yes. Yeah, you can come bowling out like literally dressed out of like the 1800s or whatever it was. I'm not a history buff, so I'm not. When it was
it's around 18 something, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a million miles out, but yeah, you can get all the the tweed jackets or whatever it was they were wearing back then. Have the stage done up like the Fire of London or something.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome. I like that. Beyond, I think, if I remember rightly, is the one that's quite operatic-y in places. Yes. Is that right? Okay, I vaguely remembered the train of thought I was on when I was doing all of this. This is good. Yes, and it's also the most recent video you've done.
It is. It's the one that dropped a couple of weeks ago. So it's the last one for a couple of months until our next video that's going to drop in August is our next video. But it's our most recent one.
So, Scribe.
Yes.
Right. Let's start from the beginning with this one because you. I didn't. I know you are sort of you're Cambridge way, aren't you?
So I'm actually now Bedfordshire way. So the band as a whole is primarily actually Hertfordshire.
Hertfordshire. That's why. Of course, yeah.
I think we're mainly because we're doing a lot of work out in the Cambridgeshire at the moment. So that's why.
But I hadn't come across the band name. When did you actually set up? When did you actually start? As it were.
So Scribe kind of formed in 2022. And that would have been around the summer of 2022. The idea of the concept of the band came out. And it was purely out of, I was in the process of filming the music video for the band Scarlet Envy. So we were doing the music video for She's Coming, and I'd met Scarlet Envy at Metal to the Masses. And I really liked the band, wanted to shoot a music video. I wanted to get into music videos as a concept. So I said, let me do a music video for you for free. We went out there, we shot this video, and we got chatting after we'd wrapped up the shoot. We were in the old Wetherspoons pub, we were getting a chat on. And Kim came up to me, the singer from Scarlet Envy, and said, "Oh, I've just heard you're a drummer." And I was like, very apprehensively went, "Yeah. Why?"
Everyone needs a drummer.
I know. I was like, I hadn't played drums in a band in 10 years, and I was quite happy not doing drums. I remembered the hardship of playing in my previous band, of just stress and anxiety, and not ever getting everyone on the same page, and it wasn't something I was looking to do. And I was approached about doing another project. So I knew I didn't want to jump into an existing band and be a replacement drummer for someone else and learn someone else's songs. That was not something I wanted to do. Because it's the worst thing to do is go in and have to learn and play someone else's style. You have your own style as a musician. I didn't mind doing something from scratch, but it had to be something that I didn't want to be doing weekly rehearsals. I didn't want to be doing any of that sort of thing. I wanted it to be more about writing the music and then putting on a few shows throughout the year, not like trying to gig every week or anything like that. It was all about being very focused in our approach.
Yeah, I think that's what stuck out when I first, because I hadn't heard of you, and then out of nowhere suddenly there's an album, and now you're doing a few shows. Whereas the other way around, normally when I speak to a band, they're like they've been gigging the crap out of 4 songs for like a year, and then they do an EP with an extra couple on that no one's heard,
Yeah.
and then that's pretty much the sort of the standard. Whereas you guys, it's just like, okay, like you mentioned you were in the band, and then it's just like, but you're not on Spotify yet, there's nothing released yet, and then suddenly boom, album, like out of thin air.
That was a very much a planned process. I mean, literally the way it came out was there was a couple of songs that they'd written. I asked them to send me over the riffs, etc., without drums. I said, don't send me any drums or anything like that. Let me put down what I would put down as a drummer on first hearing. I'll send it back to you. If you like what it is, if it feels like the right sort of vibe, then we can go forward. If it's not, that's fine as well. At least you then know as a drummer how I work, how I listen, what I contribute. And that worked really well. I had a load of songs that I'd written for a kind of solo project, so we kind of threw those at the band. I had about 30 songs, threw them at everyone. We went through those. We picked out 3 or 4 that we really liked. Then we had some other ones that the guys had been working on riff-wise, and we pulled together effectively 8 songs that became Scribe Volume 1. Went about writing them, went around the concept. The concept was never going to be songs about love. It was never going to be about political correctness. It was never going to be about anti-government sort of stuff. It was all going to be storytelling. We wanted it to be about either mythology, history. We wanted everything to have an actual storybook mentality. And so the first album, kind of all the songs kind of came from that, with songs like Jack, which is about Jack the Ripper, Raising the Dead being about grave robbers from the 18th century. We had these concepts all about all these different songs that kind of came together. And the idea I sort of said about, and you mentioned about gigging, was there's no point going out as a band because you get one chance to make a first impression as a band.
Yeah.
So why go out and learn on the road in this day and age? That's a very much 1980s, 1970s mentality of gig, and build a following, or gig, and learn your stagecraft. But in all those times, you're actually giving a bad impression of your skills, because you're going to be learning, but you're also going to be making a lot of mistakes in front of people, and they're going to remember those mistakes. So it's best to try and get those nailed as best as you can before you actually go live on the stage. And we also said the whole idea of a gig is to promote something. And if you haven't got anything to promote, like a single, an EP, an album, you've got nothing for the audience. So we were like, let's actually do the album first. Write the songs, record the songs, get the merch, get everything sorted, get our logo. And then we decided that we'd shoot 2 music videos before we even did our first live show. And then we were going to shoot music videos for every single song on the album, so that we were hitting it from every area. And then the gigs, as far as promotion, it's all about spreading them out and then having focused attention on those gigs. So
quality, not quantity, in a way.
Yeah, so you're not going to see us, if you see us this week, you're not going to see us again 2 weeks later, 20 minutes down the road at another venue at the Horn or somewhere else, or you're going to see us then, and then you might see us again in 3 or 4 months' time. We may play a show within the same county.
Build up a need and a want. So
there's not that many chances, and that's our mentality, is to be as sporadic as we can. We've got the show in July, which we're playing. Now we have got another show in Cambridge, but not until October, and that's where we open for Kane. Kane are out on a tour in October, and we are the opening band. And we actually spoke, and I was very clear. I spoke to Rage, the guitarist singer of Kane. Said, "Look, I know that we're opening for you in October, on October the 4th at the Melbourne Club. We want to play a show. Now we've made sure we've done it 3 months prior, but because we haven't got a live audience gathering yet, we want to use this show that we're playing in there to help promote our October show as well back in Cambridge. We're going to do it 3 months earlier to give us a bit of time as well. And are you okay with that?" And he was like, "Go for it, that's fine." Because we didn't really want it to sort of say, look, we don't want to take focus away and say that we're going to do this and not worry about promoting your gig as your opening act. And I thought that was the only fair way to actually approach it, rather than just sort of annoying him or anything like that, which he was absolutely fine with, so it was good.
We just played Hail Mary. That was the first single you released off of Volume 1?
So it was the second. So we did Raising the Dead, was the first. Raising Dead was the very first, and Hail Mary was the second, and they're actually the bookends of the album, the first and last track.
And just out of curiosity, I mean, can we guess that the second album's going to be called Volume 2? Or are you throwing us through a loop?
How did you guess that? So the concept is each album is a book of stories. We've created a CD. It's a wooden CD box bundle, which are all engraved and heat stamped, etc. And they sit nicely on a shelf. You can see it
on Facebook. It looks pretty cool.
They all kind of open up, and you can see it now. It's all etched, and inside it's all kind of, you get your CD, and you get all the parchment paper and little quill, and
that is really cool. I'm not being funny, but because I haven't. We'll talk merch again in a minute, in regards to where we get it. But how much is the CD in like that burnt etched box?
So that CD is £10. So
that's good.
So
it's
all, so the entire CD process is all self-manufactured. So we manufacture as we need. The CD itself is in the impression of a vinyl record style. So we've tried to think about every element of the band in the merchandise. So the look, even the band logo, it's got a book at the bottom of the book. It's got a quill at the side. Again, our inlay, instead of being like a standard CD inlay, it's parchment paper. It's wax sealed, so it's got a T wax seal on the back. The CD gets an S wax seal on the back of the CD. So when it's in there, you get a little quill feather, writing feather in there. It's heat stamped. Our logo is actually, we have a branding iron, with a logo, so we can brand things as we need it. So we use a lot of wooden stuff that's all branded as and when we need new merchandise. And
no one's done their forehead like the dude from Deicide. What's his name?
Glenn Benton.
That's it. Yeah. No one's decided to brand their own forehead.
Not yet. No. We wouldn't encourage anyone to do that either.
That's a good reason to stop drinking before that sort of stuff starts. Yeah.
I think for us, it was all a case of everything we wanted to do was self-controlled. We didn't see the benefit of going out and buying 50 CDs printed, because also the other element was in this day and age, what's special about a CD when you go to a gig to buy it? If you're going to get the whole album on the streaming platform, what makes you want to go and get a piece of plastic? With us?
Yeah, it makes sense. Have something novelty. A little bit more showed with a bit of memorabilia, as it were. Yeah.
And I think for Volume 2, which we're currently in discussions about what the concept is, and the idea for Volume 2, whereas the first volume was all kind of about mysteries, like we had Hail Mary, which is all around the mythology of the Bloody Mary story of saying the name 3 times in a mirror.
Yeah.
And the witch comes back, and that was a great video. We had so much fun shooting that music video for that one, with a couple of little plot twists in there. So I do recommend watch the video to the end to see the little twist on that particular video. But Volume 2, I know we're talking about doing the darker side of like Disney films where they have the Disney stories.
Oh, right, Cinderella being like having mutant feet or something. Where the proper dark side of the original
stories. We're going to go back, and we're going to go back to the Brothers Grimm, and we're going to look at some of the effectively those sort of fairy tales that were never really properly told or have not been made into Disney's, or some of the origins of some of those Disney's. So we are in the process at the moment of putting the songs or the music together, and I know Kim's got some ideas, working on the actual lyrical concepts for the next album.
It was, I think about it, I said that it was actually, I think it's Little Mermaid I'm thinking of, isn't it? Whereas actually she wasn't a mermaid, she was forced to wear something that would cut her feet up for eternity or something.
There's a whole load of stories like that, yeah. It's really interesting. If you go down the actual Disney, what those fairy tale books are all about, the actual original stories are quite grim.
Yeah, and they're much better.
much more interesting. So yeah, that's where we're pulling the album 2 from. For album 3, we've got a few other ideas for that one already, but we always like to think quite far in advance, so that we always have a plan of what we're going to be doing next.